You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Well, I guess that would depend on which Lord we talking about.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. This week's case is a whole lot of shit, okay? Now, if y'all don't have your drink, you better pour it now because, baby, you're going to need it. You should have already had it ready. Y'all know how it is. Come on now. Y'all supposed to have y'all drinks ready when these episodes come on. I hope y'all got y'all popcorn too. What y'all sipping on? Because tonight, my drink of choice is Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes. And, baby, it's probably about 19 crimes in this damn episode alone. Okay? Let me tell y'all though, I am feeling this wine. It's called 19 Crimes by Snoop. Shout out to Snoop. So, yeah, this one this episode gonna take you through. So buckle up, y'all. Let's get into it. This week's episode involves Jaden Higginbotham, the first victim, Antoinetta McKoy, the second victim, Lavada Harris, wife and accomplice, LaRonda Smith, another wife and accomplice, Zana Thomas, a surviving victim, Shilda Harris, Peter's mother and accessory, Sheila Moses, Peter's sister and accessory, Peter Leonard Moses, and for the sake of this episode, I'm gonna call him Lenny because it's too many Peters and all of that. So I'm gonna call him Lenny. But Lenny is also another accessory. Vanya Sisk, Peter's, shall we say, wife, but like main chick, also accomplice and murderer. And the infamous murderer, Peter Lucas Moses Jr. Y'all, I told y'all that this was gonna be a doozy. Y'all thought I was playing. Buckle up, y'all, okay? Because this is whoo child. If you haven't poured your drink, do it now. Cause I'm already sipping just from the damn names alone. Sheesh. All right, here we go. Antoinetta Yvonne McKoy was born June 25th, 1983, in Washington, D.C., to Yvonne McKoy. She grew up in a Pentecostal household, and her family was very deep into religion. She was the perfect big sister to her sister Janiyah and her baby brother Graceland, making sure that they saw how to behave and follow God's word. She was in church every day, all day. And y'all know how it is when you grow up in the church. If y'all grew up in the church like me, you were there every day, all day, whether you wanted to or not. Like I'm talking about Sunday, you in service all day for first service, second service, third service, watch service, night service. Then Monday, you got choir rehearsal. Tuesday, prayer meetings. Wednesday, Bible study. Thursday, church bingo. Friday, more Bible study and deacon meetings and bishop meetings. And Saturday, you got service before the service and all of that. Like, that brought back flashbacks, y'all. So, and like I said, I know because I grew up in the church and I was in the house of God every day, okay, whether I wanted to or not. And I had to be because my mama was the choir director and my papa was like the biggest, like well-known music director at Tennessee State University. Shout out to TSU. So, growing up in the church, yeah, whether I liked it or not, my butt was in them hard pews every Sunday. Don't get it twisted. I still go to church. I love the Lord, but I don't every day. But anyway, so like I said, she, was pretty much in the church all day, every day. And because of how much Antoinetta was in the church and, reading the scriptures every day, she really didn't have much of a social life. She was sheltered pretty much. And, even though she had friends in high school, she didn't have that many. And that's typical. Most introverts aren't really the popular kids like that. Like they kind of have that, that fly on the wall demeanor, or they're just ignored. So when she met Peter in high school back in 2000, taking over for the 2000, just saying. So she met Peter and she was quickly attracted to him. And the two actually bonded over their love of God and religion. She's in high school, and coming from a very religious family. So Peter, she couldn't necessarily call him her boo. Like she was like, that was her friend. Y'all know when you 14, 15 years old, your parents and your grandparents, they ain't playing that. They was like, oh, that's your little friend. And I don't reach that point with my kids where they were like, oh, this is my girlfriend. I'm like, no, that's your little friend, but okay. So, they not having that. They're not gonna say, oh, this your boyfriend. That's your little friend. So, that's what Peter was to Antoinetta, her little friend. And like most high school relationships, it didn't really last long. Peter and his family actually moved from DC, and the two break up. And, Antoinetta, she goes back to just being this hermit. And time is passing, and, Netta is living her life. She's graduated high school, she got a job in security, and, she's still helping to take care of her family, all of that. But throughout everything, she's still kind of feeling lonely. And, her only dream was becoming a wife and a mother. She wanted that family dynamic, she wanted that family unit. But in early 2010, Antoinetta goes to the doctor, and the doctor tells her that she has this condition that will prevent her from having any children. And, Antoinetta, she's devastated. Like this was the one thing that she wanted most, was a family. And now she's being told that it's never gonna happen. That is just so crazy because, Netta's got this big family dynamic that she grew up on. And it's like she does everything that she's supposed to do, everything is right, you know, and then boom, just this one thing. But let me tell you though, I was told that I couldn't have any more kids after I had my myomectomy back in 2019. And damn if I ain't got a whole 2-year old running around here. Like, I feel like being as religious and as in the faith as she was, I feel like it's kind of one of the things where it's like, all right, just trust God because, God works miracles. Watch him work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and that's just my 2 cents on it. But I do get how devastating that could be because even though, I already had children when I was told no more kids after that procedure, it was devastating because I had lost my daughter. So some people know I was pregnant with a little girl and I was just, really anticipating it and so happy about it. And then when I lost her, and had to have a procedure because of all of these fibroids, it was like, dang, I can't have no more kids. Like, I really wanted that little girl. And then literally a year later, boom, I end up pregnant with my son. So, I always have that thought process of watch God work because he gonna have the final say. You know what I'm saying? So I really, I wish that she had more faith because I feel like if she had, things might have turned out differently, but y'all will see for yourselves as this story goes along. So Antoinetta is told the news that she can't have any kids, and she's like, "Wow, God, really? Like this is what it is? You just going to let this happen? Like the one thing I want?" She felt like her not being able to have kids was the ultimate test of faith. I mean, asking questions like, why isn't this happening for me? I've lived my entire life by your word, God, and you just take away the one thing I want the most. It just got to the point that Antoinetta was just living day to day, kind of just going through the motions. When one day she gets a Facebook message from an old friend, Peter Moses. Peter Lucas Moses Jr. was born January 9th, 1984, to Shilda Harris and Peter Lucas Moses Sr. So, some things that I learned about Peter's upbringing is that he was a bit, I guess you could say, troubled. He suffered from mental health issues. One of the things that was noted was that at the age of 10, he attempted suicide. Now, the court documents didn't say from what, as to why he committed suicide or attempted it, but that he just made the attempt. He had been committed to a psychiatric facility and he was diagnosed officially with bipolar and depression. So, as he got older and when he moved away, he was actually receiving disability. But he had a brush with the law before like everything happened for the episode, and it ended up stopping him from receiving disability checks. Now, like I said, he originally met Antoinetta in high school, and the two grew close by sharing their love of the Lord. But shortly after they sparked their relationship, it ended abruptly when Peter and his family moved away. And it wasn't until 9 years later, though, in 2010, that Peter resurfaced. So Antoinette is on Facebook one day when she sees a friend request from a familiar face, and she looks up and she's like, "Oh, snap, it's Peter." He slides in them DMs quick and he's like, "Hey, what's up, baby girl? How you doing?" And Antoinetta is excited. They start messaging each other and, catching up in each other's lives. And he invites her to Durham, North Carolina, which is where he lives now. She's like, okay, I think I can make that happen. So, she takes some time away from work and she lets her family know, hey, I'm going to go to Durham, North Carolina, and I'm going to visit Peter and, catch up. She gets there and it's a house full of people, specifically women and children. See, that's a red flag because all I hear is, well, I don't live with my mama live with me. Nigga, okay. Ladies, we got to do better at shit like this because, nigga, what? You got all these people in this house with you? Um, okay, how about I'm gonna go to a hotel, or how about you focus on your family right now, or whatever the hell this is going on, and holler at me when your shit calm the fuck down. Cause you ain't got time to focus on no relationship or try to have no relationship right now, my boy. Like, you got a house full of people. But she ignores it. So she goes to visit him in Durham, North Carolina at his house on Pear Tree Lane. And there are several women and children. And Peter introduces her to them as his cousins. He's like, baby, I want you to meet my cousins. They live here with their kids. I know it's a lot, but I don't want to just leave them out there by themselves. They kids' daddies all bailed on them. I can't let nothing happen to them. They my family. They my blood. I got to look out for them. And I got to be the daddy that they daddies ain't been. And, Antoinetta, she's big on this whole family thing. So she's just gushing at the fact that, her man is stepping up and he's taking on such a big responsibility. Okay. So she's like, oh my God, this is the man of my dreams. Like, he's just so helpful. He's so loving. And she's there and she's fitting right in with the family, and they all have like a prayer group and everything. So she's going back and forth between her job in DC and Peter in Durham. I mean, Antoinetta is putting miles on her car. She going up and down, North Carolina to DC and DC to North Carolina. And the more time that she spends with Peter and his family, the more that she's just falling in love. She's getting along with his cousins and she's falling in love with his little baby cousin, Jaden Higginbotham. And, she's going back and forth, spending time with Peter, and he's just whining and dining her. And then on one of her trips to visit, he surprises her. And he says, Boo, will you marry me? And Antoinetta is happy as hell. She's doing cartwheels, okay? Like, y'all know how we act when we about to get married. Y'all know how it is when our man finally proposes, because I know I was acting a fool when mine proposed. We telling everybody. And that's what Antoinetta did. She was thrilled that she was going to be spending the rest of her life with the man that she loved. Like, y'all, she has loved this man since high school. Like, they was Nelly and Ashanti, okay? Before Nelly and Ashanti, like he spun the block, so to speak, you know. She was ready to say I do. She was ready for that wedding. And Antoinetta's family, they're all excited for her. Like, this is something that she's wanted for a very long time. So she packs everything up in DC and she moves to Durham, North Carolina to be with her man. And that's when shit went into Risa Tisa, because when she permanently moved in with her new fiance, it went from happy and in love to who the fuck did I marry? Like, it was on them kind of vibes, okay? Or in this instance, who the fuck did I get engaged to? But again, she's ignoring the signs because she wants love more than anything. She wants a family more than anything. And when you grow up being an outcast and feeling like, no one will ever love you, when you do get that love, you don't want to let it go. Or when you think you're getting love, you don't want to let it go. Even when you know that that person is doing you wrong. But because you've never experienced love, like real love for yourself, let alone from another person, you devalue yourself. You think you have to accept certain shit because you would much rather have some of them than none of them at all. And that's some really fucked up shit. But that's what happened with Antoinetta. She finds out that Peter is not at all who she thought he was. The man who was supposed to be spending the rest of his life with her, the family that she had come to know as his cousins. Antoinetta quickly found out she wasn't about to be the only wife. So Peter sits her down for dinner one day and he tells her, listen, the chicks living up in this house, Vanya, Lavada, LaRonda, Zayna. My nigga, if this don't sound like some damn DMX song, there was Brenda, Letitia, Dawn, Felicia. Like, you got all these. God damn, bruh. Vanya, Lavada, LaRonda, Zayna. The fuck? Like, what they really want from a nigga? Because that's what I'm getting here in all of this, okay? My bad. Anyway, so he tells her, Vanya and Lavada, LaRonda, Zayna, they all my wives. Oh, and them kids, yeah, they all mine. Well, except for Jaden, that nigga from another nigga. But the rest of them mine. Oh, and by the way, I don't work. We are part of the Black Hebrew Israelites. You will worship me. You will do whatever I say. I am Lord, so I ain't got to work. Y'all gonna work and take care of the bills, and you gonna take care of me. Bruh, y'all would have seen me on the news right then and there. Now, let me be clear. As a woman, I'm not sharing my man with no bitch. You go fuck another bitch and you supposed to be my nigga? Trust, I'ma fuck somebody that got bigger dick than you, better dick than you, record the shit and then send it to you because I'm petty like that. But like, share you with another bitch, let alone calling you Lord. Fuck out of here. I would have been just out right then and there. But, Antoinetta, she was too far gone. Antoinetta hears all of this and she knows that, she got a choice to make. But like I said, she was too far gone. She was in love. She was willing to give up her belief, her faith, her individuality. And she was quick to give in for fear of losing the one man that's ever really truly loved her. And Peter, that nigga used that, he used that to his advantage. He knew that she was weak. He knew, oh yeah, she gonna do whatever I want. That shit is fucking hurtful. Niggas know that they be out here doing dirt and they fuck up a woman's spirit and they break her because they know that she gonna stay. They know that she's too weak to leave. They'll do whatever that they want to do to hurt her. I know. Trust me, I've been there. A nigga was lying to me to my face and fucking with another bitch. But my black ass stayed because I felt like I was too weak to leave. I felt like I would didn't want to lose him, and I had put in too much time and effort and all of that, which was the most fucked up mentality to have. But I knew that nigga was doing me dirty, and I wanted to walk away and I couldn't, you know. But karma always has a way of coming back on the one that did you wrong. Always. Then niggas want to be crying and shit cause ain't shit going right in their lives. And I'm like, duh, nigga, you getting what the fuck you deserve. Bye, fool. Anyway, so Peter would have his wives worship him like weird shit, praying to him, doing whatever he wanted. He would make them sleep with each other, sleep with him. And Antoinetta, she was patiently waiting for her turn. He would have them take turns sharing his bed like it was a reward or something. And they were with it. Oh. Mm. Now, they all had responsibilities. Antoinetta was put in charge of taking care of the kids. And, she was happy with that because she really liked kids and she wanted her own. And she loved Jaden. Jaden Higginbotham was born in 2006 in Colorado Springs, Colorado, to Vanya Sisk and Jamil Higginbotham. Now, Vanya and Jamil met in 2004 online, and a year later, the two of them were married and Jaden was born. A few years after their marriage, Jamil kind of got into a little bit of trouble and had to go to Georgia for, shall we say, a state funded vacation. If y'all ain't picked up on that, that means he was in prison. Okay. And Vanya kind of started seeing someone new, someone named Peter. So Vanya moves her and Jaden to North Carolina with Peter and tells her family, hey, I don't want to hear from y'all. I got a new life with my man. Don't call me. We'll be all right. We're preparing for the big race war. The what? Okay. And Peter made sure that she didn't have any communication with her family whatsoever. Like she was under his thumb. But Peter didn't necessarily like her 4-year-old son, Jaden. This little precious little boy was the only child out of all of the kids in that house that weren't his. And Peter swore that Jaden was gay because supposedly Jaden's biological father, Jamil, was gay. Now, I cannot confirm that for sure, so take that with a grain of salt, okay? He had expressed his disdain for the child multiple times. Like, he told Vanya, you need to get rid of his ass. Like, this, I don't want this in my house. Get rid of him. Now, it just so happens that on Antoinetta's last visit home to DC in October of 2018, Peter had enough of Jaden. So, unfortunately, Jaden made the mistake of like swatting one of his brothers on the butt. And Peter sees this and he's like, oh, hell no. I told you that this boy was gay. Nah, I ain't having that shit in my house. So he takes Jaden into the garage and he tells his wives to go put some computers and speakers in the garage and like turn the volume all the way up. So they do it and he turns on the speakers and it's reciting the Lord's Prayer like extremely loud. So he goes into the garage with Jaden and takes a gun and shoots him in the back of the head. And then he goes back inside and he tells Vanya, he's gone. Y'all wrap his ass up and put him somewhere. Clean all this shit up. And they do it. Now, here's the thing that really just like really pissed me off. This is Vanya's baby, okay? She had no reaction whatsoever to her son being killed by her so-called husband, by her so-called man. Like her, Lavada and LaRonda, they literally get up, put Jaden in a suitcase, and just stuck him in the master bedroom like he was just, extra luggage or something. Like when I read that, I was like, what kind of sick bitch you I'm trying to do better with my vocabulary as far as cussing, but some women deserve to get called out of their name. And trust me, it's a few. It's a few that I could think of off the top of my head. Raggedy bitch. And she's one of them. But it really bothered me when I read that because I'm like, wow, you have no remorse, no reaction at all. And so Netta comes back and, she's looking around and, her task is taking care of the kids. So she's looking around and she's like, okay, where's Jaden? Because that's her favorite. Like she really was drawn to him. But she's noticing that Vanya and Lavada and Rhonda, they're kind of hush about it. And she's not allowed in the master bedroom. And then Peter comes out and he tells the other girls, he's like, listen, it's starting to stink in here. Y'all need to figure out what the fuck y'all gonna do with this body. So they go, of course, Antoinetta has no clue what the hell is going on. But the other women, they go and they take the suitcase and they take it to another location that you'll hear me discuss later on to bury Jaden's body. It's now December of 2010, and Netta is, she's kind of sitting there taking care of all the kids. And, she's noticing Jaden still hasn't come back. He's not there. And her gut is telling her that something is wrong. She can hear the women talking about what they did. And, she's like, you know what? I really hope they didn't hurt this baby. And I think it started to kind of like finally hit her like something is off. I got to get out of here. I can't be here. Now, Netta has been keeping her own little secret from Peter. And I guess she finally decides to tell him. She goes to him, and remember, they have to call him Lord, which is the dumbest shit. But she goes to him and she's like, Lord, I have a confession. I'm sorry, I can't have children. And Peter, he ain't too happy about this because his thought process is like, well, bitch, we in this house to populate the planet and for you all to bear my children and you can't have no babies. Like, what the fuck? And Netta, she's apologetic and she's crying and she's like, I'm so sorry, please don't be mad at me. It's not something that I wanted. I wanted kids, but they're saying I can't have them. And again, this is where I'm like, okay, well, if you're supposedly Lord and you're so religious, then, don't you think you should have that mindset of, okay, hey, I'm Lord, I'm powerful, watch me work. Now, of course, I am not actually condoning blasphemy, but y'all get where I'm going with this, right? Like, you're supposed to be Lord, you're supposed to be powerful and mighty, which again further proves you're not actually the Almighty, you dumb fuck. Anyway, so Netta is writing in her journal and, she's talking about how scared she is because she's peeping everything that's going on at this point. And, in her journal, she refers to Peter as Lord. And she's saying over and over that she's scared that Lord might kill her because he knows that she can't have children. And so finally, Netta is like, you know what? It's best that I just get up on out of here. So one day in early December, she decides that she's going to escape. Now, everybody is at home naturally, and Peter's just lounging around, being pampered as usual, enjoying the fruits of his women's labor. And Antoinetta decides that she's going to make a run for it. And when I say she decides to make a run for it, like I mean that literally. Like she runs out the door. Like she's running and she runs next door to the house, screaming to the woman that lives next door to them, please call the police. Please help me. I need to call my mom in DC. Help me. Call the cops, please. And Peter, he sees her running outside. Y'all, this nigga didn't even try to stop her himself. Nope. I guess because he's Lord, he can, make commandments. So, despite the fact that he's bigger than Antoinette. So, you could have easily overpowered her and stopped her yourself. But instead, he tells his wives, go get her ass. And the neighbor, she doesn't answer the door. She sees Antoinetta out there screaming, but she's thinking that it's a group home that she lives next door to and that the girl is mental. So she's scared to open the door because she thinks that, Netta is going to try to hurt her or something based off of what she's seeing. So the wives, they come running out of the house at Peter's order and they wrestle Netta to the ground and then they drag her back inside of their house. And they're all, apologetic to the neighbors, like, oh, sorry, we're so sorry. She's off her meds. So the woman doesn't think anything of it. They drag Netta back inside and she's just pleading with them. She's like, please let me go. I won't say anything. Just please let me leave. I don't want to be here. But Peter knows he can't do that. He can't just let her go. She's seen too much. So when they drag her back inside, Peter just begins beating her over and over. He's beating her nonstop. And then he tries to strangle her with an extension cord. He's pulling and pulling, but it's not working. Netta is fighting to stay alive. He's getting frustrated, and Netta is, still begging for her life. She's still pleading. She's still trying to stay there. Like she's like not there in the house, but she's still fighting to survive. So he decides that he's going to go take the same gun that he used to kill Jaden and use it on Netta. But he doesn't want to do it himself. So he goes to get the gun and he takes it to his wives and has them all come into the bathroom. And he tells them, y'all know what to do. Go handle business for your Lord. So they all go into the bathroom where Netta is lying on the ground, and they literally each take turns beating her. First Vanya, then Lavada, and then LaRonda. They all take turns beating her, and they decide that they're also going to take turns shooting her as well. So they turn on that same weird ass religious music and they have it blasting in the house. And each of them take turns before Vanya ends up taking the shot that kills Netta. Once again, they clean up their mess and they stuff her body inside of a large trash bin. And they actually leave it in the house for a while. The reason being is because Peter decides, hey, let's throw a party. And his mother Shilda and his sister Sheila were both present for this party. And y'all, they were actually showing people the bodies of both Netta and Jaden. What? Like, why? What was the reason?
And what was the reason?
Cardi child, I don't even know. I wish I could tell you. But after the party, they wait a couple of days and then they take Netta's body along with Jaden's and they go bury it a few blocks away in this shallow grave. Now, where do they go to take the bodies? Well, Peter's mother, Shilda, had just moved out of a house a few blocks away on Ash Street. It's the perfect spot for them because they know that the house is going to be empty. Now, like I said, it's December 2010. Netta's mother has had a birthday, and her birthday passed, and she didn't hear anything from her daughter. Now, immediately, her sister and brother are like, okay, this ain't like Netta. She gonna always call her mama for her birthday. Like, this ain't making no sense. But they don't hear anything. And then they realize Christmas has passed. So now they're like, okay, something is definitely up. So her family decides, all right, let's hit up Peter and, see what's going on. So they call Peter and they're like, hey, we haven't heard from Netta. Do you know where she's at? And he's like, nah, I ain't talked to her. She left here a couple of weeks ago, but I hope y'all find her though. But listen, a mother knows their child. She knows when something's wrong. And she knew Peter's ass was lying. So she contacted law enforcement in Durham and she tells them, listen, officers, my daughter is engaged to this man named Peter Moses. Here's his address. I don't know what's going on, but I haven't heard from her. And that's not like her. Can y'all please go look into it? So the cops, they're like, well, all right, ma'am, we'll see what we can do. And they decide to go to the house and they speak to Peter. And, they're like, well, hey, we've got Netta's mother and she's saying that she ain't heard from her daughter. Can you tell us when was the last time you talked to her? Listen, if y'all know anything about Durham police, ooh, shit. I know it's fucked up that I'm talking like that, but listen, I'm just saying. So, Peter's little slick ass is all, well, to be honest with y'all, Netta and I broke up a while ago and I don't know where she at. And I really don't care, honestly. We broke up because I told her that me taking care of my family was getting a little difficult financially. And, I needed her to step it up on her end. I was hoping that she would work. And she said she didn't want to do that. So we broke it off. And she went to go live back with her mom in D.C. At least that's what I thought. And so the cops ask him, like, well, why didn't you tell her mom that? Why didn't you tell her mom that y'all had broken up because she's under the impression y'all were still together? And he's like, look, man, that ain't my place to say. That's on Netta to tell her family. You hear me? And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how the fuck is that on Netta? Like, nigga, y'all supposed to be engaged, which means you're supposed to have some type of relationship with her family as well. Like, if my child is engaged to somebody to be married to them and they're living together, especially in another state, you best believe I'm gonna have some type of communication with you, because that means, if you're marrying my child, then I see you as my family. Like, that means you're basically my child too. So when he goes off and gives this little half-cocked ass story, all that tells me is that Peter didn't have a relationship whatsoever with Netta's family, because if he did, this shit couldn't have gone, like, this could have gone a whole other way. You know what I'm saying? So the cops, they go and they tell Netta's family, listen, it's not much we can do right now, because he's saying that they broke up, long before she disappeared or before you reported it. And there's no reason to really think anything is wrong. She's grown. So it kind of goes stale for a minute. Now, here's the thing. Peter ends up getting arrested in April of 2011 on charges for kidnapping a 16-year-old girl, hitting her several times, pointing a semi automatic gun at her, and threatening to kill her. And the motherfucker actually posted bail. Well, the wives probably posted that shit for him, but all of that, and you were able to bail yourself out of jail? What in the entire fuck? Now, here is where shit hits the fan. Now, it just so happens that Peter has another self-proclaimed wife who was pregnant at the time, by the name of Zana Thomas. Y'all, Zana witnessed everything. Now, you didn't hear me mention her being in the bathroom with Netta when they were beating her and trying to strangle her and everything. Like, Zaina took no parts in it. So remember that I said that everything kind of went stale for a minute, and that, Netta's family was trying to figure out what happened to her and all of that. Well, thanks to Zaina, everything came to light. I guess, she must have come to her senses and realized, like, you know what, this is some crazy shit. I don't want nothing to do with this. Ain't no dick that good and no religion that strong that's gonna make me sit back and watch two innocent people be murdered. So Zaina's plotting, and she actually escapes the house, and she's running. Like, she runs to the police, and she goes to the police station, and she's in there crying and crying and crying, and she's like, please, you gotta help me. I live in a house full of insane people. It's murderers in the house. People are being killed where I live. And the cops, of course, they see that she's pregnant. Like, they see this girl is shook. Like, she is scared shitless. They see she's frazzled. And so they're like, okay, what's going on? We want to help, but you got to talk to us. Tell us what's happening. And she flat out tells him, look, I live at 2109 Pear Tree Lane. There's a man there by the name of Peter Moses. He's called Lord. We have to call him Lord. And it's a bunch of women that live in the house with their kids. It's a cult. They killed one of the kids and one of the women. I'm telling you, it's a cult. And the cops are looking at each other and thinking, okay, is this gal playing us? Like, is this some real legit shit she talking about here? And she's telling them, she's like, I swear to y'all, I'm not lying. This is real. Please don't make me go back to that house. I can't. Y'all can't put me back there. Please help me. So the cops are like, all right, let's go check it out. So they go to the house, and they don't necessarily have like a search warrant or anything, but they go and they knock on the door, and Vanya answers. And they're telling her, hey, we got reports that there was some criminal activity going on and that there were some bodies here. So, Vanya, she's playing the role. She's like, oh, is that what she said? Yeah, nothing like that goes on here. We're just a very religious family, and we all live together in harmony to help each other out to save money. Y'all can come in and look for yourselves if you want. And that's exactly what the cops do. They go into the house and they're looking around and they don't see anything. Like they're looking and they see that there are 8 children in the house and they're all sitting nice and quiet. Which right there should tell you that some shit is off because you got a bunch of kids, 8 kids to be exact, living in this house. And they all just sitting there all quiet and shit. Mm-mm. Oh, baby, they gonna be running around on their cell phones, watching TV or something, but not them kids. Nope. They didn't make a sound, did nothing, just sat there. Them kids was well trained, like brainwashed, okay? If the cops walked in my house right now, oh, my kids gonna be sitting there on their video games or on their cell phones. My 2-year-old definitely gonna be ripping and running and jumping on them and all kind of shit, typical kid stuff. But sitting stoic, nah. So the cops is looking around and they don't see anything. They don't see anybody. They don't see any blood, nothing. And they have like this kind of suspicious feeling, but they can't act on it because they don't have a warrant. And the girl that had told them all of this, Zaina, now they're kind of like, okay, well, maybe she was playing us. And Vanya tells them, listen, Zaina's she's just a little crazy, and I don't know what's wrong with her. But then the cops start thinking about the kids, and they're like, okay, we need to know who is the male in the household. And Vanya's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's when it hits them like, hold up. This is the same house where Peter Moses lives. So they're like, well, where's Peter? Oh, nobody lives here by that name. Why did they find this nigga hiding in a cabinet? They legit found this fool hiding in a... Get your big ass out that cabinet. Why? Why are you hiding in a cabinet? Like, what? Again, I say, what is the reason? So again, cops don't have a warrant. They can't do anything. But when they leave, like I said, that whole thing with them kids is sitting with them. They're like, wait a minute, something ain't right about this. So they said, okay, well, you know what? We're going to call social services because them kids was sitting there extra quiet and that ain't normal. So they call social services, and for once, social services actually does their job. They tell them, hey, we kind of concerned about this house that we're at on Pear Tree Lane. Like, what's the deal with the kids? Can you tell us more? And social services tells them like it's 9 kids. There's 3 women. They say that they're like a religious family and that they're all living together and everything. And that's when it hits the investigators like, wait a minute, you said 9 kids? And social services is like, yeah, it's 9 of them. Vanya, she has 4 children. Lavada has 5 children. And LaRonda is pregnant with her first. Like, we got the paperwork on it. Every child. And the investigators then tell social services what they saw when they got there. And they're like, well, when we were at the house, it was only 8 kids. So social services went down and named off every single child. And that's when it hits them. They know, okay, Jaden Higginbotham is the one that's missing. So they go back to the house. And once again, they talk to Vanya. And they tell her, ma'am, social services has 9 kids living here, but we only counted 8. Where's Jaden? And initially, Vanya just denies that she even has a son named Jaden. Like, fuck the fact that they got paperwork that ties him to her. She just flat out was like, who? I don't have a son named Jaden. And the investigators are looking at her like she has lost her damn mind because what? Like, bitch, yes, you do. And they are persistent. They're like, Jaden Higginbotham, where is he? And so eventually, I guess she realizes, like, damn, all right, I'm caught. So she tries to like clean it up and she changes up her story. And she says, well, sometimes Jaden will spend time with other family members to, kind of help take some of the relief off of us. And this is where I start to think,
You done fucked up, right? No. You know you done fucked up, right?
It just it doesn't make sense for you to say, well, sometimes he stays with family members to take the relief off of us. Like, I don't think you thought that through, girl, because there's three women in the house and eight children. Y'all are all living together to quote unquote help each other out financially and to save money. So why is it that only one kid has to go? Like, isn't that what the other women are for? Isn't the point of y'all living together to help each other out? So they should be able to babysit him. But instead, you have to send him away. And like that was what you came with. Yeah, like that make sense, girl. Like, I don't think you thought that through. Like, this child ain't got the sense God gave a good tick. Like, if this girl was any dumber, y'all would have to water her. But she was riding with it, you know what I'm saying? And at this point, the police could tell it was some sneaky shit going on. So they left and they decide they're going to come back with a warrant. A couple of days go by, they come back with their warrants, but guess what? Everybody is gone. The house is empty. There are no kids. There are no wives. There's no Peter. And remember, they found Peter's big ass hiding in a cabinet like a dummy. But nobody is there. So the cops are like, all right, we definitely got something now. And they start doing their investigation. They start looking around and they're looking in the house and they're seeing all of these things because y'all, these fools left in a hurry. Like, they found some of Netta's journals where she was referring to Peter as Lord. And, like I said, in her journals, she's talking about how scared that, she is that he's going to kill her. So they find a lot of her journals. They find a lot of the other wives' things too. But it's something else that they find that stands out to them. They find bullets. They dug bullets out of the wall. When the girls were shooting Netta, they had like patched up this wall and tried to cover it up, but the cops found that real quick. So they dig a bullet out of the wall and they find evidence of human blood and signs that, somebody had tried to clean it up. And now they know they got to go looking for them. And honestly, it's not too hard because let's keep it a band. You got three women, two of whom are pregnant, not to mention eight children plus a grown ass man. It ain't gonna be that hard to find them. And they end up finding them at a Colorado townhouse. Now, how did they do that? Oh, that was easy. Vanya's grandmother called the cops, baby. Now, remember, Vanya's grandmother was helping her take care of her and Jaden when Jaden was first born and Jaden's dad had got locked up. And when, Vanya met Peter, she told her grandmother, hey, you know what? You ain't got to worry about me no more. I'm joining the Black Hebrew Israelites. We're prepping for a race war where the black race is going to reign supreme. But you can't say that to a praying grandmama, honey. Not today. They don't play about that. Her grandmother called the cops and was like, I'm really concerned about my grandbaby. I know she's back here in Colorado. Please help her. Get her away from that man. And they helped her all right to some cuffs in a jail cell. So the police do a little bit of digging and they find out that Peter and his whole harem are living at a townhouse in Colorado. Now, ain't that some shit? The very same people that you took your wife from is the only place that you can run back to because you know that the cops is on your ass. And Vanya, you fucked up the minute that you opened the door to let the cops in and told them that they could come in and look, thinking that you had actually cleaned up the scene of a crime. Like, look, folks, if you commit a murder, just know that there is never any way that you will able to be fully clean up to fully be able to clean up a crime scene because forensics is always going to find the smallest bit of evidence on your ass that they can link back to you. And that's exactly what happened. Now the investigators, they're going through the house and they find the murder weapon. And guess where it was? On the roof of the townhome. These idiots threw it on the roof thinking that was going to like just save their lives. Nope. They found the 22 caliber handgun on the roof of the townhouse and they said that's the nail in the coffin. And they arrest everybody. They arrest Peter and all his chicks and they take the children and they put the children into foster care. So at this point, they've got everything except the bodies. And prosecutors are like, okay, they definitely are guilty of murder. They had to have killed these two, but we got to figure out where these bodies are. It's February when they arrest Peter and his wives, but it's not until June that their bodies are actually found. So remember I told you guys that Peter's mom had that house on Ash Street, and that's where they, buried the bodies? Well, one day, just days after Shilda and her husband had moved out, the owner of the property, this guy named Wesley King, he's going through the process of getting the house ready for some new tenants. So he calls out a plumber to come check on a sewage problem. And the plumber is over there and they're doing some work on the house, and they start, kind of doing some digging. And when he and his coworker start digging, they get this like really foul and just funky smell overpowering him. And he's like, yo, what the hell is that smell? So the plumber's like, all right, fuck it. I ain't taking no chances. He calls 911 and he tells them, hey, we noticed something very curious in this backyard, buried in a plastic bag, and the smell is unusual. And, the dispatcher, they're asking what he's talking about. And he tells them, it's a horrible smell. We don't think it's an animal or nothing. It just seems like it could possibly be another human. Homie was smart, okay? He ain't touching shit. So he tells them, y'all need to get somebody out here. Get somebody else to do it. I ain't doing it. The police officers, they get out there and they start digging. And there they find the bodies of Jaden Higginbotham and Antoinetta McKoy in a very shallow grave. It's later confirmed by Durham Police Chief at the time, Jose Lopez. And now they've got everything that they need and they start handing out charges. On Thursday, June 9th, 2011, Peter Lucas Moses Jr., Lavada Quinzetta Harris, LaRonda Renee Smith, Shilda Evelyn Harris, Sheila Felicia Moses, Peter Leonard Moses, aka Lenny, and Vanya Ray Sisk are all arrested. And stuff is starting to pour out. Neighbors that lived on Ash Street, where Peter's mom lived, said that there were several adults and a small child that lived in the house. Okay, so Sheila's husband, Anthony Leon Harris, lived there as well with his daughter, Diamond Harris, which was Shilda's stepdaughter. Now, Diamond's mother, Regina Oliveri, and Diamond's stepfather, Alfred Oliveri Jr., they were in the middle of a custody battle to try to get Diamond back. Which is why, Diamond was living with her daddy in the first place. Regina had lost custody due to going to jail for a bad check. Yep. That's some crazy shit, to lose custody of your kid and be living right around the corner from them the whole time. Like, Regina has spent 16 days in jail because of this whole bad check thing, and automatically she loses custody of her kid. And, Diamond had to go live with her dad, and Diamond hated it. Like, when she would go see her mom, she would tell her how much she didn't want to go back there. But, the neighbors said that it was so many people living in the house. Like, y'all know they had two boys and two girls that stayed in a shed behind the house. Like, what kind of crazy shit is that? Now, in reading the court documents, I'm still not understanding how the fuck Shilda and Sheila. Can I just say that this shit is really weird with how these names are so similar? Like, two sons named Peter, one middle name Lucas and the other Leonard. Then you got Shilda and Sheila. Like, their names need to be Evil, okay? But Shilda and Sheila ended up getting their charges got dropped. Initially, they were both granted a $500,000 secured bond at their court hearing, and I kind of call bullshit on that because all of a sudden you just drop their charges. But okay. Peter's attorney, Manny Dexter, was saying that the case against Sheila and his mom was just kind of like hearsay. And because of everything that happened, she ended up losing custody of her kids. And, he was like, oh, this isn't fair. The fact that he actually said, "Oh, it's not fair that she's losing custody of her kid." You mean like the same way that Diamond's mama lost custody? Only difference is Diamond's mama lost custody because of a check issue. Sheila lost custody because this bitch was like, okay. I gotta be careful because since the charges got dropped, yeah, I have to be mindful of my words. But you know what I'm saying. They ended up dropping the charges against them, but everybody else, oh yeah, them charges wasn't going nowhere. So at this point, folks are starting to talk about this whole like black Israelites thing. The police question Jay, who is another one of Peter's brothers, and Jay tells them like, the detective made up the group and stuff like that, and people study different religions and stuff like that. He kept saying, "My mom is innocent. They just trying to charge everybody that they can. The simple fact of where they found the body, that's basically why they're charging my mom." You think? It's at her house. Like, it's not like she didn't know, but okay. So then Lavada Harris's father comes forward and he holds nothing back. He tells the prosecutors flat out, "I ain't like him. I've been trying to talk to my daughter into cutting ties with him for years now, and she wouldn't listen to any family members. Anytime I try to talk to her, it's like talking to the wall, I couldn't get any response from her." Of course not, because she was being brainwashed. On June 28th, 2011, a Durham County grand jury started handing out indictments like candy with the deaths of 5-year-old Jaden Higginbotham and 28-year-old Antoinetta McKoy. Vanya Sisk, Lavada Harris, and LaRonda Smith were all charged with first-degree murder accessory after the fact of Jaden's death. Peter was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, assault on a female, assault by pointing a gun, and communicating threats. Good old Leonard, Peter's brother, was charged with accessory after the fact. The only one that did not get charged for anything was Zayna Thomas because remember, Zayna had no involvement. Her prints were nowhere. Plus, she ran to the police to tell them what was going on. She let it be known, like, I'm living in a modern day house of horror. It's now July 2011, and they're all in jail. And the wives, they are being united. I'm talking about drumline, one band, one sound. Prosecution is trying to get them to turn on Peter, but none of them are cracking. Now, mind you, LaRonda is 6.5 months pregnant when they arrested her. And they're like, think about your kids. All of y'all got to think about your kids. But they ain't cracking. Go against our Lord? Never. Meanwhile, Peter's on the other side, and well, he got a bit of a different perspective. Now, initially, prosecutors were like, "Listen, we're going to seek the death penalty against Moses." This was in one of the court hearings that was held July 8th of 2011. They ended up dropping all the charges on Peter except for the 2 counts of first degree murder. The district attorney for Durham County, Tracy Klein, she was like, "Listen, those other charges, we want to focus on the death penalty. We want to focus on these murder charges. They've got a mountain of evidence, not to mention a confidential informant. They've got all these interviews that they've done. They've talked to all of these neighbors and witnesses, and, all of these neighbors are just spilling the tea." The official autopsy report for Antoinetta and Jaden were released on October 4th of 2011, and it was confirmed that both were shot in the head. Netta was shot twice in the top of the head and once in her right arm, and Jaden was shot once in the top of his head. Prosecution is coming for Peter's neck. They want him to fry or, suffocate or lethal injection, whatever. They want the death penalty. Now, while the prosecution is going after Peter and his whole harem, the families are trying to bury their loved ones. Netta's mom, she's wanting her body, but the defense attorneys are actually fighting to keep the bodies on some straight bullshit, like trying to keep them for additional testing. They're all like, oh, well, we're trying to prove that our client had nothing to do with their murders. They want to review the autopsy and then compare it to the investigative report and see if like any further test needs to be done. But the judge was like, hell no. It's been 4 months since their bodies were found. They need to go to their families. So Judge Orlando Hudson, he rules that the remains be released so that they can have some closure. And at that point, shit gets a whole lot worse for Peter. The families have now laid the bodies to rest, and it's the new year, specifically February 8th, 2012. And investigators have matched the fingerprints from the grave of Jaden and Netta to none other than Peter's ass. Y'all, his fingerprints were all over them trash bags. So at this point, his attorneys are like, listen, we gonna do what we can, but not looking too good for you there, boy. So his defense attorneys decide that the best way that they can go about getting some type of relief is to challenge the confidential informant that prosecution has, which is Zana Thomas. So they asked the judge for access to any mental health records that Zana may have. Like, they're trying to theorize that she's more of a co-defendant because she was present when the crimes were committed, and supposedly at one point she held a gun to Netta's head. But remember, they don't have her prints anywhere. Now, the attorney that was representing Peter's mom, Elizabeth Coach, she says, well, she's not just a state's witness, she is the state's witness. The whole case hangs on her credibility. That's why it's called a witness. But okay. Attorney Michael Driver, he chimes in and he's like, well, Zana provides the only evidence that I've seen out of some 10,000 pages that Miss Sisk has committed any criminal offense at all. Really? That's what you got? Okay, so what the attorney is saying is that, y'all are taking the word of just this one person and trying to put all of these people in jail because of it. Like, what? Duh, maybe? Like, what you mean? Defense is trying to argue that because Zana grew up in foster care and admitted that she had bouts of depression, that her credibility is unstable. I have seen defense and prosecution use witnesses that have been on drugs. I've seen them have witnesses that have alcoholism and all kind of crazy shit. So now all of a sudden it's a problem. But DA wasn't having it. They knew that if they gave everything to the defense, it would prejudice her as an individual and something that just has no relevance at all to her. Like something that happened 15 years ago. So the judge, he tells them, you know what? I'm about sick of y'all with this. I tell you what, I'll review her records and decide if it needs to be released. And of course, it didn't. So all of this is piling up on Peter, and this nigga is sweating. And his defense attorneys are like, listen, we're trying here, but it's just too much evidence on you. Like, you're gonna have to take a plea or something. And Peter, he's thinking, I don't want to die. You're not about to have me out here on death row. So he decides, all right, I'm going to go ahead and plead guilty to the 2 counts of murder in exchange that y'all take off the death penalty. So the prosecution is like, all right, cool, we'll go ahead and do that. So on June 11th, 2012, Peter Moses pleads guilty to murder and is given 2 life sentences. And when Jaden's father, Jamil, finds out about this and his family finds out, oh, they are pissed off. He was furious when the prosecutors decided to go ahead and, give that plea deal. And Jamil let it be known. He was like, me and my family wanted the death penalty. I am not okay with this at all. He's telling them, like, I have been fighting to get my kid back ever since I got out of prison. My parents have been fighting to get custody of him because I couldn't. He's supposed to be spending his birthday with me, but instead we had to bury him. Now, I 100% sympathize with him on that because it's like, yo, the system is designed to rehabilitate. It's designed to restore, but yet you're still restricting in many ways, you know. So I empathize with him wholeheartedly. Now, y'all want to hear some funny shit though? Like I said, his wives, Peter's so-called wives, are one band, one sound. They ain't cracking, they ain't saying shit. This tells you that a nigga ain't loyal worth a damn. Part of the plea deal that Peter took was for him to, to get the death penalty off the table, was for him to testify against his own wives. He starts telling them everything. I mean, this nigga is singing like Fantasia, performing Free Yourself on stage after she done kicked off her shoes. He tells them, these girls will do whatever the fuck I tell them. I told them that I was gonna kill Jaden, and they fear me, so they did what I told them to do. When Netta wanted to leave and run away, I told them to stop her, and I gave them the gun to kill her, and they did it. They weak as fuck. Meanwhile, the ladies is still holding it together. They still holding their man down. One band, one sound for this motherfucker. But when prosecution told them, hey, y'all nigga just snitched on y'all. Bye-bye loyalty. They were like, oh, word? We holding you down and you flipping on us? Wow. This nigga really don't give a fuck about us. You think? On February 18th, 2013, after, learning that her lord flipped on her, LaRonda Renee Smith, who has now had her child, pleads guilty for her role in the death of Jaden and in the death of Netta. And she was sentenced to 23 to 30 years in prison for charges of second-degree murder, accessory after the fact, first-degree kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder. When she is sentenced, she is just so apologetic. She tells Netta's family, I really am sorry. I just wish that I would have been able to get out of that situation a long time ago, but I know I wasn't strong enough. I was down here by myself. Netta was my only friend. She treated my kids like they were her own. And, Netta's family, they're like, girl, bye, especially Netta's sister. Her mom said that, her remorse somewhat touched her, but her sister was like, bitch, too little, too late. You crying is not going to bring her back. And the defense attorney is still fighting and, getting sympathy from the press to try to take it easy on LaRonda. The girls weren't really able to think for themselves. Like, they were saying, like other cult leaders, Peter was able to exert a level of control over his followers. Now, let me backtrack for a minute. Shilda and Sheila, like I said, they were released from jail June 15th, 2012. Authorities ended up dropping the felony accessory after the fact charges against them, but they never said why. They did make it clear that the decision to drop the charges didn't have anything to do with the plea agreement that Peter took. And surprisingly, Jaden's father, Jamil, was pretty chill about them dropping the charges against them. He was still pissed at the fact that prosecution agreed to the plea deal for Peter, but his focus was, all right, we got the ones that was directly responsible. Me personally, Shilda should have been in jail too because, bitch, you raised this monster. You knew what the fuck he did. You knew he buried those bodies there. They had a fucking party and y'all sat there and looked and you did nothing about it. Her attorneys is like, oh, well, she's very happy to be free and she feels justice has been served. She's grateful to the district attorney's office for doing the right thing. And then Sheila's attorney is all over there, all over, this is a long time coming and I'm glad justice is done. But was it really? Now, Leonard, Peter's brother, and Lavada Quinzetta Harris, they both plead guilty to being accessories after the fact in Netta's death. And then Lavada pleads guilty to being an accessory after the fact in Jaden's death. Leonard, he gets sentenced to 4.5 to 6.5 years in prison, and Lavada gets sentenced to 14 to 16 years in prison. Lavada's attorney is apologizing for her on some whole, she's expressed deep regret and deep remorse. First of all, why the fuck can't she talk for herself? Why can't she, offer an apology herself? You expressed deep remorse and deep regret. No, bitch, I want to hear you say, I'm sorry, I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But Daniel Meyer, who was Leonard's attorney, oh, he's pissed. He's upset. He is just so angry. He's like, well, he isn't happy with everything that happened. He didn't really know a lot of what had gone on prior to him being there, and he was still essentially remaining loyal to his brother. Which, of course, is what you're supposed to do, but ultimately, his loyalty kind of cost him a little bit too much this time. Now, Peter's little bottom bitch, Vanya Sisk, she pleads guilty on June 27th, 2013 to second-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder for Antoinetta, and then accessory after the fact of murder in Jaden, her own son. And y'all, she gets 18 years for the murder and accessory charges and a consecutive sentence of 18 years on the kidnapping and conspiracy charges as well. So, for those of y'all that don't know what running consecutive means, it means that she got to do them sentences like Drake, back to back, 36 years. Damn. Baby, I know she was mad when she found out she couldn't do them things concurrently. But shit, I mean, you literally let a man that's not even really your husband kill your son all because he accused a 4-year-old of being gay and you did nothing. Like, he took your son's life. As a mother, you're supposed to protect him. And you didn't. You failed. So, 36 years? Yeah, you still got off light to me. Finally, Peter Moses is sentenced July 5th, 2013. Peter Lucas Moses, the leader of the polygamous group, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. At his sentencing, Netta's mother gets an opportunity to speak, and she tells him in the courtroom, "You took something very precious from me. There is not a day I don't think about her. You're not God. You're not God." She then goes on and tells him, "I begged you to let me talk to her. You lied to me. You deceived me. You told me you wanted to marry her, that she was going to be okay. Where is she now? She's dead." And I mean, her mama is going off in the courtroom. She tells him, "There will come a time when I can forgive you, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm asking God to forgive you." That's some faith right there. Like, that's some true faith because, motherfucker, you kill my kid, fuck you and the clique you claim. Like, fuck your whole family, fuck your mama, fuck your sister, fuck your brother, fuck all y'all with a sick dick. But that's just my little opinion. But Peter gets up and he kind of like gives this like half-ass apology to her. And he's just like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry for what happened to your daughter." Like, nigga, she didn't fall off a bike and skin her knee. You killed her. And if that's what the apology would have been, oh, ain't a bailiff around that can pull me off of you. Like, I would have been on your ass. You heard? But it's his defense attorney, Lisa Miles. It's what she said that just really had me blown. Y'all, this chick says that the murders that were committed weren't a reflection of Peter's character, but were only a result of his untreated mental illness. Because apparently he had been off his meds for a while, but when he had been arrested and was in jail, he was like spazzing the fuck out all the time. And so they medicated him. And, he was, I guess you could say, going back to normal, like his calm self. He stopped taking his medication originally because his Medicaid benefits had been cut. And, she's like, his illness made him do something monstrous. His character will make him atone for that. Girl, are you serious? He was on his meds for quite a while when he decided that he wanted to be a polygamist. He was on his meds when he decided that he wanted to live in a household and have all these women having his kids. He was on his meds when he decided that he wanted to lie to Netta and deceive her to get her to move away from her family. He knew what he was doing. Just because he's bipolar does not excuse what happened. This motherfucker did the unthinkable. But you trying to excuse that? Like, that don't make no sense to me. I get it. You're an attorney. You want to, you have to defend your client. But this is why if I ever went into that, mm, that, I just feel like there's no way I can just represent, every client. Like, there'd have to be a screening process. Because, motherfucker, I'm going to ask you, did you do it? And yeah, did I don't even know how to, like, you really tried to blame him doing all of this on being off of his meds. Okay. Vanya, who is now 38, is currently housed at the North Carolina Correctional Institute for Women. She was originally sent to Anson Correctional Institute when she was sentenced, but with the prison systems, you get moved around. So now she's at North Carolina Correctional. Since she's been incarcerated, she's had a couple of infractions. In September 2013, not long after, her imprisonment, she got an infraction for misuse of phone and mail. And then in December 2015, she had another infraction for a sexual act. I guess I can almost guess what that was about. Like, girl, your ass in there for quite a bit. So I'm pretty sure you done become somebody else's bottom bitch at this point. But she's projected for release in May 31st, 2041. Damn, that sounds far away. LaRonda is now also at the North Carolina Correctional Institute for Women. Much like Vanya, she had started off at Anson and was transferred. Since her incarceration, she's had one infraction, and it was like a no threat contraband back in July of 2017. I kind of wonder if her and Vanya are still cool. Like, do they communicate? Her projected release date is November 25th, 2034. Now, she's got about another 10 years before she gets out. Lavada is now 53 years old, and she was released from prison September 21st, 2018. She did 6 years and a month at the North Carolina Correctional Institute for Women in Raleigh. So, now she's going on to live her life, and she's kind of been dormant since then. I think that I found her on social media, like on Facebook, but I can't confirm if it was her page or not because the page is like super private. But, it did kind of look like her. Hopefully, this has really taught her to stay away from bullshit, stay away from these hoes, stay away from these niggas. You know what I'm saying? Peter Lucas is currently incarcerated at the Avery Mitchell Correctional Institute in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. Homie has had a gang of infractions since being admitted there. He had a couple of things happening in 2015, from disobeying to substance possession. In 2016, substance possession, weapon possession, involvement with a gang. 2019, disobeying orders like 3 different times. 2021, he set a fire, unauthorized tobacco usage, substance possession, fighting. I mean, I guess, bro, like if you gonna be in there for life, then hey, go out with a bang. Prime example of a leopard never changes its spots. And now it is time for Fair or Foul. It is a new segment where we discuss the sentences received or not received and if we think it's fair or foul. You can comment in the review section or in the discussion group on what you think as far as if it's fair or foul. And honestly, on this one, I've got to say all fair. This motherfucker Peter deserves every fucking thing he got. I have been cussing like a sailor tonight. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like Vanya got off lucky with only getting 30 years or 36 years. She should have got more, honestly, because you let your boyfriend not only, like, not even your husband, there's no excuse. You let your boyfriend, your common law husband, if you want to call him that, kill your son. Yeah, you've been with Peter from the beginning, but that's your child. You're supposed to protect him, and you didn't. You protected your man over your child. So the 36 years that you got off easy because you should have had life. So you know what? Nah, I'm gonna say change that to foul. Instead of it being fair, I'm gonna say change it to foul because you should be in there for life. And I think it's foul that they didn't give you life like you deserve. And clearly, the only reason that yo nigga ain't dead is because he flipped on you. You was loyal to a nigga that wasn't loyal to you. So how do you feel about you? Okay. When it comes to LaRonda and Lavada, I guess it would be fair. And the only reason that I say that is because, yes, they do deserve the same sentence as Vanya, but I also empathize because of the fact that they were loyal to a dude for so long and, basically were giving them their loyalty over common sense. Like, I'm sorry, but Ain't no dick that good that's gonna have me out here busting my ass like a slave, working like a dog, and you sitting back, kicking back and enjoying the money that I'm making and just doing nothing. Like he's out here impregnating y'all. He coming up with this whole theory of we need to repopulate and prepare for a race war so we can be this dominant race. And I get it, there's been so many theories on this whole, you know, race war thing for so long. There's been so many theories on the Black Israelites for so long. But at the same time, you're killing two of your own. You killed a 4-year-old child and you covered it up. You killed a 28-year-old woman who you claim was your friend and you covered it up. So, how is that looking out for your own? Yeah, you were under the influence of this man. Yes, you were under his stupid demise spell, so to speak, but you still knew right from wrong. And if y'all are supposed to be religious and you're supposed to be, worshiping and saying that it's about repopulating and creating a strong race, then why kill Netta and a 4-year-old boy? What did the boy do to you? Children are supposed to be innocent. They are supposed to be off limits. But because he touched another child on the buttocks, and we don't even know if that was valid or not because it came from Peter, he's 4. He don't know no better. My son run around grabbing my titties all damn day long. He don't know no better. He knows that as once a source of food. The well is dry at this point, but at one point it was a source of food. But of course, when I tell him no, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, he's a pervert or no shit like that or that something is wrong with him. I tell him no and I keep it moving. But you let this insecure ass motherfucker, this crazy ass nigga, turn around and kill a 4-year-old, your son, who you carried for 9 months, your son, who you birthed. Peter had told you, yo, you need to get rid of him. If you was really, really wanting to get rid of him, why not give him to his grandparents? Why not give him to his father, who were both fighting to get him back? Like, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. I really wonder what the Black Hebrew Israelites have to say about all of this. I wonder if they could sit there and say that they condone it because I don't feel like they would. Like I said, I don't know much about the Black Hebrew Israelites. I was raised Christian. That's my belief. I respect anybody's beliefs that doesn't involve murdering innocent people. I just I can't rock with that. I really this case whew, like I said, this drink of choice tonight, Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes, it seems to fit the occasion because whew, all right, I'm off my soapbox. All right, y'all. That is all for this week's episode of the Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the following: on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast, and that's a number one, by the way, not spelled out. And you can leave a review there. On Twitter, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can send a friend request to the page The Infamous Ones or join the private discussion group, The Infamous Ones Discussion Group. Hey, guess what? You don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in, cuz. But once you do get in, let's chop it up because we talk about the real in there and everybody be having fun. Plus, I do little, giveaways and stuff when I'm feeling nice. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, of course, and so on and so on. So leave a review, y'all. It only takes a few seconds. I promise y'all, okay? These reviews matter. And speaking of reviews, let's get into a couple of them. Now, this one comes from J Ash Robin or Jash Robin on Apple Podcast. It says, "You know you did it, right? Ah, I'm so happy I found another Black true crime podcast narrated by one of the girls. I just started a week ago and I've already binged every episode. Don't want to be pushy, but I'm about to be. I need more. No, but seriously, I love this show. Can't wait to hear more." Thank you, darling. Make sure that you subscribe so you can be notified when I upload these new episodes. The next review is from Facebook and it comes from Anissa. She says, this one is on the episode about the Taco Bell strangler. And she says, this man was a damn menace. I can and can't believe the police were ignoring him because, first of all, his military background. So I think they didn't want to put in on him and be wrong. Then I can't believe it because he was black. You know, they quick to take a black man down. This is one time they should have been on him. Listen, I agree. The system irks me. I can't stand the fact that it took them so long to find this fool, like when he was like right in their own backyard. Now, if you want to support the show, or if you're feeling the spirits, and this week that spirit is from Snoop's 19 Crimes, because listen, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on, and hit listener support to subscribe. The subscriptions start at $4.99 and it gives you access to stuff that the listeners don't get from behind the scenes and, you know, all of that good stuff. You can also donate via Cash App at $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. Donations go toward new recording equipment because, bruh, my voice and microphones don't mix. If you have a case you want to hear more on that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, or if you want to inquire about ad space, because we are accepting ad space, y'all. Or if you want to leave a review, or if you just want to say, hey, you know, whatever, send an email to infamous1pod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. Once again, people, please share, 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 share. Sharing is caring. This podcast is growing by the day, and it means the world when y'all share it. So please keep sharing it. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week with a new episode. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.